Guys, how's it going? Thank you for stopping by again. Today I want to answer a question that I got asked. How much is too much for a watch? So it's really hard to answer that question. How much is too much for a watch? It's just hard to answer because I don't know what your budget is. I don't know how much money you have to spend on a watch. We have to understand one thing. Even though we collect watches, even though we're in the hobby, and even though me personally, I know you guys too, if you're watching this video, you guys are addicted to watches, and we spend so much time out of our day thinking about watches, that it's just crazy. But here's the thing. What could you afford? My number one rule is, if I'm going to buy something, and God forbid I stumble into hard times, if that's the first thing in my mind that I got to get rid of, then I can't afford it to begin with. You have to make sure that if you're buying a $2 watch to a $200,000 watch, whenever you stumble into hard times, it is not the first thing that pops into your mind that you need to sell to cover the hole you created. That's my method of thinking of how much I could afford in a watch. My other method of thinking, and I'm going to implement this in 2018. It's my New Year's resolution that if something comes in, something goes out. There's got to be a little sense of normality in whatever whatever comes in. The new thing is always going to be very exciting, but you got to let those watches that just you fell out of love, you got to let them go. Now, there's always going to be seller's remorse. There's always going to be that watch that you say, oh man, I should have kept it. It now grew in value. I miss it so much because what not history it had. There's always going to be that. So that's besides the point. We're talking about being able to afford the watch and being able to afford the watch collection that you have, and not hurting yourself, and not going into debt, and not going, not building up that massive amount of credit card debt that hey, I'm guilty. I've gone to places and I haven't been able to afford a watch, and whoop, there goes the MasterCard. We've all been guilty of it once or twice, and it gets us into trouble. And then just that feeling that watch got us into trouble, it's like, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But simple set of rules that I use, and I think they're helpful. Like I said, if you stumble into hard times and that's the first thing you have to sell, you can't afford that watch. If you have a big collection and you're bringing a watch in, make sure one goes out. Okay? And number 3, if you have to ask your wife or your husband, whatever you are, and you can't buy it freely without getting in trouble with somebody, you can't afford the watch. That's the reality of things. You have to be able to go out and buy it and be secure of that purchase, and make sure that the hobby doesn't hurt you. It's not a cheap hobby. I stick in the $500 to $2,000 range. That is my potential. That is where that's where I'm comfortable. I showed you guys in another video. I'll leave a link here for that video. How to buy a Rolex. I went out and I bought an $1,800 Rolex. So so I just let go of a few of my watches, and I got the $1,800 no problem. So that's always a good way to build your collection. Buy and sell, and we're all flippers here. We're in the watch community. Everybody's a dealer because everybody has to sell something someday. Everybody. I mean, I don't care if you might say right now, I'm never selling this or I'm never selling that other watch, but you can't keep them all. You can't keep them all, and you can't wear them all at the same time. So, I mean, you're always going to be flipping watches. That's one of the fun parts about being a watch collector. You know, whatever you collect. I know people collect cars, collect guns, collect watches. We're always flipping all the time. Look at all these other channels, and that's what they do. They have to let some go. It's the reality of things. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just, you know, making smart decisions, upgrading your collection. There's nothing bad with upgrading your collection, and then you let go of the bottom part of your collection. You know, so just whatever you do, make a conscious decision and make sure it doesn't hurt you. Make sure you could afford it. Make sure that it's going to be a watch that you're going to be able to enjoy. And if you have a $500 payment at the end of the month, that means you're not going to enjoy that watch. You know, that means that you couldn't afford it. If you had to finance it, you couldn't afford it to begin with. So guys, thank you for stopping by. Thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.